This is Show versus Business, your weekly take on pop culture from two very different perspectives with your host, the real Theo Harvey, and myself, Mr. Benja, coming with all the relevant info to get your week started. This week, we'll be coming in with some heat. First, we got the revenge of the Spider-Verse. I don't know why I called it that, but Across the SpiderVerse is coming back. It's bringing in the bank. People are talking about it. And guess what? We're going to cover it. No spoilers, don't worry. And then number two, we've got the Little Mermaid getting review bombed. Was this justified? What's going on over there? I mean, it's probably not justified, but we got to talk about this one. Also, Ezra Miller's coming out and getting support from the director. This is an interesting topic, but we had to cover it. If you haven't heard, Ezra Miller's back in the spotlight, kinda, and we'll tell you why. Number four, Amazon's version of Clubhouse, AMP, is suddenly getting attention that it wasn't getting before. Why now? What's happening? And should we even be caring and paying attention? Also, we got AI Doomsday. True or false? Is it coming? Is it happening? What should we be worried about? What should we not care about? And what are we going to do in the future? So that's all I got, Theo. What's going on with you?
Oh man, that's quite a bit of a lineup, man. I'm excited about all of it. But you know what I've been excited about, man? This
What's this?
crazy show called Dave. Have you heard of it?
You mean Little Dicky show?
That's right. You guys don't know Lil Dicky's his rapper, probably one of his biggest hits. Everybody probably remembers Freaky Friday with Chris Brown, Changing Places. He's kind of like the rapper generation. He's like the rapper version of Weird Al Yankovic for those of an older generation. Right?
Huh. Okay.
So he, makes fun of himself. He's kind of a funny guy, but he talks about things from pretty good rapper, obviously. I think he's had some moments, but he has his TV show that's just entering its third season. And it blew my mind because if you haven't watched Dave, he has all these amazing cameos. I mean, not to spoil too much, but he's getting A-listers like Brad Pitt, Rachel McAdams show up on this little dinky streaming Hulu show. That just blew my mind. He even had the great Drake show up in this
Drake.
Drake, yeah, Drake show up. And then he had this one episode where he was at the Met Gala and he had all these different celebrities. One of them happened to be Jack Harlow, who basically almost looks like. So Don Cheadle was another one, Machine Gun Kelly, excuse me, and Megan Fox. And so it was just like, here's this guy who's made fun of himself by having a small, you know, penis. Let's just say it. That's what he just makes fun of himself. That's his name, Lil Dicky. And it's just like now
That's
he's
that's
like,
an, that's an interesting marketing point there.
yeah, yeah,
Brand differentiation.
absolutely. But he's the best in the world at doing that, making fun of himself, I guess. And so now he gets to hang with other A-listers. So I don't know, Mr. Benja, that just kind of blew my mind. We've been talking about marketing and influencers and how people are distinguishing themselves. And it just shows you that, man, we truly live in a marketing world, man. If you can kind of position yourself well, even if it's something as crazy as the way Lil Dicky has done it, I just say, man, you just be amazed at what you can do and accomplish in this world.
He's pretty slick though. I think the moment he really got on my radar, because I knew of him, but I think the moment he really got on my radar was that video he did about being cheap or
Oh,
being,
yeah.
instruments, not spending money on things. And one of the things he did in that video was he approached T-Pain and said, "Hey, listen, T-Pain, you're filming a video, right?" T-Pain's like, "Yeah, I'm filming a video." It's like, "Check this out. I just want to be kind of in the background and I'm going to be filming a video at the same time, but I'm just going to, you don't have to do anything. I'm just going to kind of use all the people around you and I'll front you a little money and that'll be good." And T-Pain thought it was so funny of a concept where it's like, I'm shooting a rap video and there's a guy in the corner, kind of shooting his own rap video in the shadow of my rap video. So you won't have to pay for the people, they won't have to pay for all this. And the funniest part of it was T-Pain trying to explain this to his director. He's like "No, no, no. He's not in the video. He's not part of the song or anything. He's just gonna be here and we're gonna let him film whatever." And the guy's like, "What are you talking about? He's gonna be in my shots." He's like, "No, no, no. He's not gonna be in your shots. After you finish the shot or before you start the shot, when people start dancing, we're just gonna have this little dicky guy do it." It's like, "Don't worry, it'll be funny. It'll be great." And the director's like, "Okay." But after that, I was like, this guy is interesting and I could learn some marketing tips from him. Just getting out there and I was about to say exposing myself, but yeah.
Yeah, well, so the thing about him, he used to be in advertising. He
Mm,
actually was worked as a account manager at an
okay.
advertising agency. They go into that actually in the TV show as well. But he really came from and wrote copy for such ads as, I guess, the NBA's Big Campaign. I can't remember which one that was. But so he said he was gonna be a rapper and just basically took his marketing acumen and created it so he could become the one of the biggest rappers around. And that's just amazing to me, man. Just how he understands marketing at a level too, right? So I think
Yeah.
that's what helped it. And then, I was trying to find, the song that you talked about. Was the name of it? I was trying to look for it while you were talking. But it was the funny one where and at the end of that video when he's talking about like, all these things we're gonna do to be cheap about, filming this video, he actually does at the end, he shows you the behind the scenes of how he talked to these rich folks and say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm just gonna film the rap. I just need 5 minutes on your boat. Hey, do you mind we just filming this house real quick? Look, I'm legit. Here's the release, let me know." It's just funny to hear him talk to trying to get people to get into their mansions
Yeah.
and their yachts to film this video. And so yeah, and like I said, this guy, he's got a lot of connections, and so but, he's the best in the world at what he does, and so that just goes to show you that it doesn't take much to get to these folks if you just really be good at your niche, and that's really what the lesson I take from him because he shouldn't be that well connected, I guess,
Yeah. Yeah.
considering his topics that he talks about, I guess.
Well, yeah, when you just a guy phrased it as being a marketing person I was watching, I forget who, phrased it as being that guy. You always want to be that guy, that dude, that girl, that chick, that person, where you say, hey, who is this or where's this coming from? Oh, no, that's the guy who does, oh, no, that's that guy. As long as you can be that person to enough people, anytime this topic comes up, they'll associate it with you. So it's funny. I met a guy in an art show like over a decade ago, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you're that video game art guy." I was like, boom, there it goes. I'm the
Mm.
only one he's ever met that does stuff like that. So oh, and Bing GPT tells me the song is called "Save That Money."
Save that money, thank you.
Yep.
And thank you, Bing.
Not so sponsored by Amazon, but could be in the future.
Yes, definitely. Or yeah, we could be sponsored by ChatGPT. We'll see. But yeah, so anyway, so that's kind of what I kind of looked at. Also, since we're talking about it, there's this pending doom when it comes to like entertainment for me a little bit because there's a couple of shows that just ended recently. Succession, that was like a big show. And if you, I don't think you did you ever watch that show? At least a couple episodes at all, Mr. Benja?
It started making me depressed about my relationships with my family. Not that I have bad relationships with my
Yeah,
family. It's just that like, geez, I mean, this is not a happy show. I mean, fighting over stuff. I don't know.
I
So I had to
loved
stop
it, man.
watching.
I loved it. It was just like because the way they interacted, it was believable as a family,
Oh,
but
totally.
the way it was depicted was they were billions and control media, and so that's what the scary part was. So, and obviously modeled after the Murdochs, right, who own Fox and all that kind of stuff. So,
Right.
so it was kind of interesting that ended, and a lot of people wrote these stories about it. Another great show, Barry, which is Bill Hader's kind of comedy show, kind of comedy. It was very weird. He was a professional killer that wanted to be an actor. That just ended recently on a somber note as well, just like
Yeah.
Succession. And then finally, the feel good story of all them that it came out during the pandemic, that people that couldn't believe was called Ted Lasso, right? The little soccer show, right? That
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
And it was on Apple TV, and it just ended its run or its version of its run. That's what the star Jason Sudeikis has said. And it kind of went out a little somber too. So it's kind of like these three big shows, or two of them really massive shows that just ended all of a sudden. You kind of like scratching your head, man, what is next especially in the TV landscape? We know movies are kind of getting hurt. We talked about that last
Mhm.
week. So and we're in the middle of a writer's strike. So I do feel like we're kind of at a precipice of something that's going to be very interesting over the next couple of years when it comes to entertainment. Are we going to see generalized entertainment, something that people get excited about again? Because like I mentioned, the little Dicky show, Dave, for a reason, because I don't think anyone knew about these cameos that popped up on season 3. It didn't trend on Twitter. it was just kind of released, and few folks probably saw some things, but I don't hear a lot of talking about it, right? And this is like, I mean, get Drake on a TV show or Brad Pitt, one of the
Yeah.
last movie stars out there, Rachel McAdams. No one really talked about it. It's like, wow, man,
You know
this is
what?
this is crazy times.
That's an interesting that's an interesting market position if you're the guy that will give somebody free promotion and they can be themselves. Because if he's really like contacting these people like, "Hey, are you gonna be at this award show? Are you gonna be at the gala? Are you gonna be here? So I got a quick 4-minute idea. It'll be fun. It'll give you some shine. Da da da. Da." If you could just be that guy, wow, that's an interesting, you know.
Well, I would just tell you this. I mean, we talked before the pod. He actually went to Atlanta and he had like big rappers like Killer Mike show up. He had
Mhm.
Usher, and then the whole arc with Rachel McAdams. She was in 3 episodes, and then the whole episode with Brad Pitt. He was in like 20 minutes of the show. So it's like
Oh, okay.
these are like cameos, man. I thought they were. These are actually like characters that
Okay.
they're playing a version of themselves, and so I'm like, and even Drake was in for like a good, it wasn't like, "Hey, I'm Drake," or at the end, it was just like a good, 5-minute conversation. So, I mean, it's like, wow, man. It's like, if a show premieres on streaming and no one watches it, does it exist? Almost,
Mm. Yeah, yeah, check Twitter out. The people who are into it are talking about it and happy, but yeah, it's not a big group.
Yeah, yeah, man. So, you ready to get into it, brothers?
All right, man, let's get into this. Let's get into this with story number 1. We got Across the Spider-Verse coming back, bringing the whole animated Spider-Man saga back into the vibe. It's got the money, it's bringing the bank. People are talking about it, and I'm saying it's got some numbers behind it. What are you hearing here?
Yeah, Mr. Benja. So first off, as the one that kind of sees everything of the duel with both between us, I did see it already, and I loved it, man. It was great, man.
And we're not spoiling anything, right?
No, we're not gonna spoil anything on this one, but Across the Spider-Verse is second. I mean, like, so true story. So when the first one came out, Enter the Spider-Verse in 2018, wow, that was a long time ago. I predicted on our little Facebook page, I said, "This movie is gonna win the Oscar," and you
Hmm.
guys laughed at me. Like, well, I don't think you guys laughed at me. It's just more like, "Okay, we'll see." And sure enough, it was the little movie that could. I think it didn't make any money in the box office. It was so weird, right? It was kinda like an offshoot. At the time, I think it wasn't Sony and Disney, they were going or Marvel, they were going back and forth about if Tom Holland, they were gonna make another Tom Holland
Right.
Spider-Man movie or in contract negotiations. So basically, Sony, all they have is Spider-Man. They To their credit, they didn't just give it to Marvel, right? They just been kinda leasing the character out, but they kept the rights to the Spider-Man universe, and so they kinda created Venom and to success and Morbius to not as success. So obviously they're looking at what other can we do, and this whole Spider-Verse concept came to the forefront. And Mr. Benja, did you know that Spider? I think we talked about this before, but Spider-Verse actually came from the comics originally. This whole concept.
Actually, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
Did
read it. It
No, I
came
didn't.
out like about 10, 15 years ago. And I can't remember who's a writer who created it in the comic books, but very interesting concept. I mean, it was like multiverse concept that we all love it, know. But it was just like, yeah, in that version of the comic books, Madam Web is the one that controls the Spider Verse, and she's kind of like
Mm.
this mystical version of Doctor Strange for Spider Man. And they came up with this whole concept about Spider Man or this and that, and he would go to these different universes and do different things, and so yeah, that's where this whole thing came about. This Spider-Man, universe. Oh, it was because there was this arch enemy they introduced that really ate Spider-Man. Basically, he was like the killer of Spider-Man, and you had to defeat him by coming together as all the Spider-Man across the universe. And so I digress, but that was a comic version. So when they kind of came with this concept, but also it was more like a entry point into Miles Morales, which is one of the great characters they introduced in the last 20 years or so, right? From
Yeah.
the original Ultimate Universe. You remember that back in the day? Shoot, that had to
Yep.
be 20 years. And so Miles Morales, the black Latino hero that is the, version of Spider-Man, basically, so it gives that concept anybody could be Spider-Man. And he just took off, great character. All the kids love him, folks, this, he's a great character. So this is the entry point, and it blew up, man. I mean, people loved it. Didn't do well at the box office, but it just got repeat viewings. So it was a no brainer to have it as a sequel. But also, I think the thing about it, why it won the Oscar, you could probably talk about it, was the animation. The animation kind of blew everybody's mind of how it kind of portrayed. It wasn't just that Pixar kind of form look.
Yeah.
It was more kind of impressionistic. It was a little bit more free form. It was definitely hand drawn, but there was some graphic art in there. And I would just tell you this, Mrs. Benjamin, someone I know you probably saw the trailers. They took that to up a notch. So now instead of
Mm,
the character themselves looking like that, each world is distinct in their artistry. And in
yeah.
some world, it's not even a world really, it's more like a mood. And it changes
Yeah.
colors from the character's mood. And so it's like almost like a visual painting, if you will.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
go to so so yeah, so I think, it's a visually stunning movie, good characters, everything doing, very chaotic, but it's grounded in something real. So I think it's a great movie. Only bad part is not so much a spoiler because you can look in the internet, it's out there, but it is a part two coming
Right.
soon. So it does end on a, pretty, kind of abrupt cliffhanger. So it's kind of like,
All
oh,
right.
wait, what?
So we
So
got like the animator strikes back. Actually, I don't want to pry anymore. I don't.
yeah,
I,
it's kind of like that almost, but it's almost like literally like, you gotta wait 5 years until see what happens in the next scene, almost kind of thing, So I like Spider-Man, like Empire Strike Back, where, it was kind of like, okay, a lull in the action.
right. Yeah, that's always an interesting strategy when the two and the three are like known to come out. But I remember everyone talking about the Matrix when they did it back to back. They're like, yeah, these two movies are going to be released in the same year, and people lost their minds. But
So and they both suck.
no, no, you take that back. You take that back right now.
Oh, they both trash.
We
It was
talk
so
about two
trash.
very different perspectives. This is where we diverge.
Oh, so trash.
Unbelievable. I don't.
I'm so
I'm not sure I can continue with this podcast, man.
that was trash.
Oh my gosh. Sitting down talking to the that is another whole segment. I want to stick to the Spider-Verse before I get upset. Yeah, so apparently it's doing pretty good in comparison to the other Spider-Man films, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The other one, I think it opened at 30 million, made a couple 100 million or so, but this one's already had the biggest opening of the year so far with 51 million, even more than for one day. Now, mind you, it's one day.
Right.
So we'll see what happens in for the weekend, but biggest one day opening of the year for any movie. And it's the third biggest opening day for any Spider-Man film after No Way Home and Spider-Man 3. So we'll see. I mean, it might have some legs. I mean, it's definitely stiffer competition now than Mario faced when you have Little Mermaid. And I think in like what 2 weeks we're gonna have the Flash, and so it'd be interesting to see how many legs. But I think word of mouth. I guess the only thing may hurt is just that it is a part one, so that may be something there. But I do feel like people are gonna start raving about it. It's a very good story.
Yeah, definitely. And I think animation in general, one thing they do with it is they kind of use it to test out ideas and see how strong the story can stand. You have developers, they can try out things without these huge production budgets because they can just draw whatever they want, see how it works, see how it lands with people, see how the production flow goes. And it seems like they're doing that with Across the Spider-Verse as well, because now they've hinted at a live action version of Miles Morales. So now that it's been getting this kind of steam built up, it's like, you know what? Kind of like this. And according to variety.com, producer Amy Pascal says Spider Woman animated and a live action Miles Morales movie are in the works. So springboarding off of this whole Spider-Verse thing, now Miles Morales is thinking about coming into the forefront, which also kind of plays into some of the stuff we saw from which Spider-Man was that with the Vulture? Because there was some stuff hinted in there too. So they may be coming back to pick up those breadcrumbs.
Definitely the Sinister Six and all that. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. No Way Home, Homecoming. Yeah, Homecoming.
Homecoming. There you go.
Yeah. But, this is almost like those Spider-Man or like Iron Man Jr., kind of thing. It was too much Iron Man in those
Mhm.
Spider-Men. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see how they break apart from I mean, they'll still be a part of Marvel, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Tom Holland ain't going nowhere, but I do feel like it'll be good to see him just be on his own again, right? Like
Yeah.
the original Spider-Man, because I mean, he just works that. It's funny, at the time you don't think about it, you just, oh, I just like Spider-Man. But as you get older, you understand why these characters resonate so long. Because he's like, oh, that's why I like Spider-Man. He's kind of like me. He's just a regular dude, man. Yeah, he'll hang with the Avengers, he'll go to outer space, but, don't expect him to do that, like, 24/7. That's not his life,
Yeah.
man. It's his life is like me trying to pay bills, man.
Yeah.
So, I think, once you get to the core of who Spider-Man is, and that's kinda what the Spider-Verse Across the Spider-Verse is about, is like, what's canon to Spider-Man, right? What is core to all the Spider-Man
Mm.
that makes them unique and different? Obviously, high comedy, but there's tragedy, he becomes a hero because of tragedy, and so that's always kinda haunting him, and that's why he always does his best, because he knows, the shoe could drop any moment, and so, it's a great character. To be honest with you, I mean, someone made a good point. Yes, I think, Superman is probably, the hero we all attain to wanna be. Batman is the one we probably could be, but Spider-Man is the true superhero that I think everyone, can really understand what it means to be a superhero. Because it's like, he encompasses everything that he would be who you
Mm.
really would be as a superhero.
Yeah.
If Superman is what, we idolize what a superhero could be, like a god, Batman is someone, we have all the resources in the world, but Spider-Man is who you really would be. That I
Right.
think, and that's why he resonates so well.
Hmm. I actually have a thought coming in with Batman, but we'll save that for another one because I got a
Yeah.
whole spiel on that one.
Write it down, man. Write it down.
Oh,
But
yeah, I just did. I got a little notebook here. Bada boom, bada bing.
so go check it out, everyone. I loved it, and it's got some interesting things. Maybe we'll spoil it later, but it's got some interesting things on take on just different cultures and how they relate to being a Spider-Man, because that's really what the Spider-Verse is about, like different type of cultures who embrace the character of Spider-Man. What does that mean for their culture? Which I thought was kind of interesting. And to me, be honest with you, the coldest outfits, man, definitely, man.
Mm.
Miles Morales and Spider Gwen Stacy, man. I love those costumes, man. Be honest with you, I think that is the coolest costume ever. The white with the hood, man. Whoever came up with that, man.
That is eye catching where you just
I
stop and say,
mean,
I have to check that out. That is very good design.
think about it. And she's got the little ballet shoes too with her outfit, man. It's like, I mean, I think that's probably why she took off so hot when she first appeared in this. It was just like such an iconic look initially
Mm.
and stuff. And then of course Miles too. His look is iconic, the black and the red. So yeah, man, I think that's another reason why I think those characters pop, because they're in their mask, still look great.
Definitely. And it's doing well. And it doesn't seem like it's having the problems of our next story. Story number 2. Apparently, The Little Mermaid is getting review bombed. This is no surprise. For those of you who don't know, review bombing is when someone is so mad at the content, the context, the nature surrounding, or some issue they have with the show or the property, and they take to the online and start bombing it in the reviews and giving it 1 star, 0 stars, and just trying to tank the reviews as a form of protest because they don't like it. So how is this happening with the Little Mermaid, Theo?
Oh, the Little Mermaid. Oh, poor Little Mermaid. So
Lil M.
Lil M doing her thing, man, in these streets. Look, man, my wife and my daughter saw it. They loved it. I went to go see it just to check it out. And everybody in the theater, there was all kind of races, and it didn't matter. Little girls across the spectrum were enjoying it. So I didn't see anything. I get why people are kind of pushing back against it, because that's not the Little Mermaid I grew up on. Okay, sure, but I think it is kind of beat for beat, not too much spoiler here, but it is kind of beat for beat like the cartoon with a few little edges here and there. But to be honest with you, the young lady Bailey, I think I talked about it. She did a great job. I mean, she even sounds like Ariel. I mean, you hear her
Oh,
voice, the way
really?
she talk. Yes, I don't know how she did it, but they trained her, man. Her voice, I mean, even the singing, but like when she talks like Ariel. And so it's like, and then they cast her perfectly, because like Little Mermaid is almost like you want to care for her, like, oh, she's a little mermaid, right? And they did a great job of that. You're just like, oh, I just want to make sure she's going to get what she wants. And they cast her character really well, and she did a great job. But it's just kind of paint by the numbers, almost like a lot of these movies. Like I just saw, I'm going on a tangent here, but I don't know, they did a remake to White Man Can't Jump on Hulu.
Mhm.
Sure. But it's like, why do these need to be updated, man? These movies are classics for a reason. We go back to watch those movies. So it's getting to the point, like they're cutting to the bone with some of these sequels, man, where it's
Mhm.
like, why are you touching this, man? Because I was watching White Man Can't Jump. It was like they had to do a lot of explaining, right, to kind of get it up to date because it almost seems dated, right? Because of
Yeah.
the time. And so they gotta explain, like, well, it's not good to be this and can't do this. It's like, ugh, I'm tired. I'm exhausted for you just explain why you have to exist. And so I
Yeah.
say all to say Little Mermaid is somewhat similar. It's like, they're trying to update things, like make it a little bit more modern, but they're trying to stay true to it's like it's almost exhausting where it gets in the way of some true artistry. And so I think the review bombers, I think they have some concerns about the casting, I'm sure, or whatever. But I mean, as a form of art, though, it doesn't give, it didn't give the case, kind of like the Lion King, they did the remake to the Lion King. It's almost the case like, why is this here? It's almost like we're just doing it to make money. But I get that part, but it is almost like, I don't feel, I don't feel joy in it. Does that make sense?
I mean,
Well,
joy, that's an interesting word. I need
well,
more.
art has to live, has to breathe. Now her character, don't get me wrong, her character, yes, that's where I think the sprinkle of inspiration came in, right? But beyond that, I mean, casting Ariel as, a young black lady, woman, I think that's important. But everything else is kind of like, paint by the numbers, if you will.
Okay. Yeah, and it's definitely interesting. As I said, it wasn't surprising that The Little Mermaid got review bombed because a lot of people, there's this whole vibe of not, people don't want to see somebody cast as a black actor. I'm gonna center it on that because it's very like, hey, it's very noticeable when you recast with a black actor. You'll notice people really coming out of the woodworks to say what they have to say, and she's supposed to be blah, and there's a lot of anger towards that, and that's it's weird that it's happening with this movie. It's like she's a mermaid. It was in the Caribbean Sea in the first place, and if anybody is going to be multicultural, it's going to be the fish. Fish don't give a flip. They're like, hey, it's got scales, baby. Let's go. And
Oh, and I'll just say this, man. They went there too with the all inclusiveness of the mer people. So just let me just put it there.
I saw that I saw a display for Little Mermaid, and I saw all kinds of mer people. I was like, interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, they decided to go all in with it, and you know, some people like that for some reason. Some people like for I personally haven't seen it yet, and I want to see how it's presented. But to be fair, I will not. I don't want to back down from my earlier opinion of Little Mermaid in general. I had problems with the original Little Mermaid.
Oh, hot take.
Yes, hot take.
Ooh,
I had problems with
20
the
years in the making. Oh my goodness.
okay, finally ready. No, I had problems with the original Little Mermaid because I saw this character. I'm like, hey man, you down in the sea, you got all this awesomeness going on. I was kind of on
Sebastian.
Sebastian's side. I was like, hey, you down to sea, everything's good. Life is much better down where it's wetter. Come on, man. I had this lyrics in
Take
my
it from
head,
me.
and Kiss the Girl. I thought that was a great song. But
Sure was.
I'm like, you're in the Caribbean Sea, you got all this stuff going on, and you're gonna just forsake your family, forsake your friends, get up with this evil lady who's kind of jive talking out. That was weird back then, but they've changed Ursula, so I haven't seen it. But as a kid, I was kind of upset that to complete her story to win, she had to leave everybody behind and then convince them, no, this is what I don't know. It just rubbed me weird as a kid. And now that I'm going back and thinking about it, I'm like, no, I still kind of feel that way. And you're just giving up everything for this dude with some money who's coming in effing up your people, you know? So I don't know if the movie does a better version of, pushing back on the eating fish and, killing of the sea life. Maybe there's an environmental angle. I don't know. I suppose there is.
Yeah. They took
But
that whole scene out. That was a good scene where Sebastian's running around and the chef
yeah,
thinking about how he's gonna cook the fish.
yeah. So that rubbed me the long way because I was like, yo, my boy Sebastian is telling the real, man. He's telling the truth. You
That's
can't have you're just rolling up with the enemy. They're literally trying to kill you, chop you up, and eat you. So yeah, it had a weird vibe to me. As I said, I don't wanna put that on the new version. I do wanna see how they did it, how it plays out. And I gotta remember this is a completely different audience, so the
yeah.
artistic take is completely different, and I have an open mind about it.
Well,
But,
don't get me started. All the Disney movies, let's be honest, are problematic because they start with the killing the parents. Every one of
well,
them.
I mean, that might
Every
that
one of
might happen.
them. Every one of them.
Yeah.
Think of any Disney movie. Frozen, literally, like the first 2 minutes, you see the boat. They say, "We're leaving." The boat is like sail on the seas. Next thing you know, the boat is going under. It's just like, dude,
Yeah.
how do you say bye? Yeah. So, I mean, but superheroes too, right? Let's be honest. All the superheroes, their parents died.
Okay, let's not conflate, parents dying with, like being a race trader. That's which is what I'm talking about.
I love it. Spicy talk.
It was
It's
just
just business.
unfortunately, it was just a weird take to me. So I had to stop and think about it. And I don't know because I
Disney.
understand how people get the representation, but I'm like, is this the representation you want? Is this pandering? But then I thought about what other Disney property could it be that did this? And I didn't have a great answer, So it was like, you know what? This might have been the only movie that you would have wanted to do that with. But I mean, Cinderella, that would have I don't know about a black Cinderella. I would have been like, come on, man.
Yeah, that
This
was a yeah, this is the only one I agree. This is the only one that probably could have had legitimate like Belle. They didn't, change that around. But
you
that
can't
would make sense.
you can't do a a black brave. That's not like
Yeah, Beauty and
that's
Beast,
not brave.
Beauty and Beast. I mean, we have our version, we
Yeah.
have I can't remember her name now. The Princess and the Frog. What's the
Yeah.
character's name? Tatiana. But it's kind of like, for like the 2/3. Well, anyway, don't get me started, man. There's a whole other now you have a black person in this show. Think about this. I just want to put it out there. You remember, I don't know if you remember the movie, right? There's a scene where she literally loses her voice and someone
Mm.
takes it over. So basically, you got this picture of a black woman losing her voice and trying to fight it back from a white person. That's in
Oh,
there.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
all types of different
yeah. So
layers.
now you got this whole
Exactly.
other layer in there. You're like, oh, wait a minute. I never thought of this. So anyway, it's kind of interesting.
Okay, well, last thing on this, later on this year, there is a new Disney movie coming out featuring a black princess called Wish. It's coming out in 2023, starring Academy Award winning Ariana DeBose as Princess Asha. So, Asha the show, she's a 17-year-old Afro Latina princess from the Kingdom of Terra. It's going to be interesting to see. And thank you, bard.google.com, for providing me with that information so quickly.
Well, let me pull up my chat GPT, man. Now we're gonna go AI. We're gonna do the AI wars in real time. Let's do it.
That's right.
I got chat GPT app on my phone now. So there you go.
Nice. I like how it has a little as
Yeah.
you type and stuff, it vibrates.
I'm
Interesting.
thinking. I'm thinking.
Hold on. Yeah. All right, so that's that for that. And speaking of getting review bombed, we've got story number 3. Ezra Miller is in the mix again, but in an interesting way. Instead of being lampooned and lambasted for what he's been through and what they've been doing, they're getting a little praise from the director, and the director is backing them. This is I don't want to say unprecedented, but in this cancel culture, in this era of you got to get your retribution, you got to take your lumps, you have to go on the apology tour. Ezra Miller's not getting that. The director is out here talking them up, talking them up. I don't know
Yeah.
to think about that.
Very interesting, man. So yeah, the Flash, winding road, but it's finally almost here. And so, yeah, Ezra Miller fell into some crazy times, and and done some interesting things. Funny, like I haven't went to the YouTube yet to see the press tour for it, but I don't know who's promoting this movie. It can't be Ezra Miller.
Yeah,
Is it?
everyone but Ezra. So,
I mean, they got like, I mean, we've seen the trailers, right? They got, what's his name, Ben Affleck coming back. I'm sure he's not promoting this. We got, what's his name, the original Batman, Michael
Michael
Keaton,
Keaton.
yeah, coming back. I don't know if he's promoting it, so it's like I'm at a loss. It's like, I guess they have to use the director and the head of the studio to promote this movie. It's crazy.
Exactly. So let me start off with this article that came out from the Hollywood Reporter. The Flash director Andy Muschietti on Ezra Miller's potential future with the franchise. Basically, the director says no one else can play that character as well. And the way this came across sounded very interesting because he's quoted as saying, "If a sequel happens, yes, I don't think there's anyone that can play that character as well as they did. The other depictions of the character are great, but this particular vision of the character, they just excelled in doing it. And as you say, the two Barry, it feels like a character that was made for them." End quote. And then they go on to mention a couple other people, Barbara Muschietti, also backing the director. And it seems like there's a growing group of people that are saying, it's okay. It's okay. This was a very well done role. And we're just going to overlook the kidnapping, the fights in clubs, the the crazy things that have been said and done. And yes, there was an actual kidnapping, grooming kind of thing going on. So this is not the territory that anybody would have expected Ezra to be in at this time. People were thinking, well, this movie is going to come out and they're going to be done. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
Look at this. The Flash earned, I'm reading the same article, earned strong reactions when it screened at CinemaCon last month, where Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav heralded it as his all-time favorite superhero movie. In January, 3 months after news broke that James Gunn and Peter Safran had taken over as DC studio bosses, Gunn said during a conference call that The Flash is probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. So there you go, man. You got the executive, the suits. They're promoting this movie, man. Damn your Vanity Fair profile or your YouTube video from the Lad Bible or anything like that, man. These must be the executives out here
Yeah.
talking, talking that smack, man. Getting this movie, selling these tickets, man. This is unheard of, man. I've never seen this before in my life, man. Because I'm like, who's promoting this movie?
Exactly. So it's just an interesting take, and you gotta, at least for me, I had to compare it to the way Ray Fisher was treated, Amber Heard was treated. I mean, right or wrong here, it's just a different way of looking at how these different stars are being treated. Ray Fisher, Amber Heard, Jonathan Majors, like who else is on that list of just in hot water and bad look in the public eye? Will Smith, you know, Will Smith was banned from the Oscars for like 10 years or something.
Man, he's an A-list. He started out as an A-list actor. Didn't do anything wrong for like decades. And then, one very public display in the wrong place.
Right.
Got him, and now you got Ezra is just like, oh, all's forgiven. So yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know. This is disturbing. So basically, people of color and women, no second chances.
Yeah, and I'll definitely say people of color. I'm not as up to date on how women in Hollywood are treated. Well, badly, pretty much. But I'm not as up to date on the
Well, look at
background.
that. Look at. I mean, technically, what's his name won. Johnny Depp won. The trial, but I mean, he's coming back. I mean, he's already got movies and stuff. Amber Heard is like her role in Aquaman 2 got squished down to what, a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like she's person non grata in Hollywood right now. So it's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen here with her. But yeah, I mean, she was okay actress, but she shouldn't got that.
Well, she did take a poop in a bed, allegedly.
Well, that didn't help at all. You're right. But that the public, Yeah, you can't get that out your head now. That's probably what
Yeah, that's what I was
harm.
getting at.
Yeah. You're right. That's what's doing our harm more than anything else. You're right.
So, I mean, yeah, and, I think there's a bit of this unapologetic nature that goes along with Hollywood where they want you to bow down to Hollywood and play that role, and I don't mean play the role as an act of part. I meant the colloquial play the role where it's like, "No, we want you to behave like this. We want you to do this. We want you to say these things. We want you to give deference to this Hollywood machine that we've built because we're royalty in the media." Mm. And it seems like Ezra's starting to do that. James Gunn definitely does that. We've known about his past and his tweets,
Oh yeah.
and he's just playing the game, and it allows James Gunn to jump from DC to Marvel, still be in good graces. People like Dave Bautista backing him up. Does Ezra have this kind of fan base? Well, if you can't get it from the fan base, get it from the executives. Uh, there could be a very big future for them, even in spite of all this.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. Don't really have too many opinions. Just, I think time. I think that's probably what maybe helped the situation. Maybe if it happened, the discovery of all this like happened like a couple months ago, that may have soured a lot of this, but they gave it time, and Ezra Miller has been kind of low key. And so that's been helping things. And so,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, this might be similar to the Jonathan Majors piece, right? They're kind of like letting it subside. We'll see. I mean, it's gonna
Yeah.
be that's gonna be the litmus
That's
test. If he can get through this gauntlet.
that's a strategy. Be loud or be completely quiet. There is no in between.
You're
So,
right. You gotta be super quiet, man. If Jonathan Majors keep his nose clean for like, when does Loki season 2 come out?
yeah, exactly. So I
If
don't I
he
don't
can
know. And
if he keep that mouth shut and just low key,
low key.
oh man, he's great. He's wonderful.
Okay, the great wonderful part, that's what's the key to me because if you release a garbage product, like, I ain't like his last movie anyway. But when the product is really good, you're kind of like, I mean, it was really good. So I can't, and you just kind of shrug your shoulders and you're like, "Mm,
Your great
it was,
comedian, Dave Chappelle, talked about
yes.
it, and he said, what he said, I can't remember what the exact term was. But he said, talent is much bigger than anything else. And so he said, when Chris Brown, he had beat the top rock star, he physically beat Rihanna.
Mhm.
We saw her bruises. He was done. He was canceled. He came out there on the BET Awards and danced to Michael Jackson, and everybody forgave him. So it's like, and he had a career.
Yeah,
So, if
it's
you
just also,
talented, if you have something great that comes out, we talked about this for years, Michael Jackson versus R. Kelly, right? People still playing their music, even though, matter of fact, my daughter just graduated from 5th grade at her little banquet for 5th grade.
mhm,
Guess what they were playing? I Believe I Can Fly by R. Kelly. And
interesting,
I was like, they're still playing that? This
interesting,
dude's in jail now, but it don't matter, man. The
interesting.
music endures. The talent endures, man. That's the sad part. Yeah. Oh no, talent trumps character. That's what he said.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Trump and things, moving on. Well, that sounds like it might be a political transition, but this is not that. So let me not use that. Speaking of amping up on the charts, we're gonna go into story number 4. That is Amazon Amp is suddenly getting attention. Have you? I don't even know if you've heard of this, but this is the Amazon alternative to Clubhouse, to Twitter Spaces, to that thing that Facebook dropped that they tried for about 4 minutes. And it's even a good competitor to Spotify's Greenhouse. I don't even know if you know what Spotify Greenhouse is.
I do.
Exactly. So, but Clubhouse still has that vibe of you get in online and you just start talking noise. And it was a big thing on Clubhouse. It's now turned into Twitter Spaces, basically, who is dominating the, I guess, audio discussion space. And Amazon is releasing theirs. Have you heard of Amazon's AMP?
I didn't think you told me about it.
Okay. Well, let me explain how it kind of works here and what makes it different. So Amazon's got this thing called Amazon AMP, and they released it last year to a little bit of fanfare, but not too much. It was kind of following in the vibe of the, as I said, Greenhouse, Spaces, and Clubhouse. So it's kind of
Well, let me
following.
just let me just say this. Club Twitter Space is still, somewhat going strong. I mean,
Mhm.
I get on there, you see Uncle G pop up every so often, top, so it still's got some legs. Clubhouse still there too. I see some folks popping up every now and then, but definitely not the hype. So this live audio thing still has some legs to it, but
Yeah, in fact, DeSantis decided to align with Elon Musk and announce his return to the candidate. I mean, not return his candidacy on Twitter Spaces, which was really interesting. It's like screw Fox News, screw CNN, whatever else you got. I'm doing this on Twitter Spaces with my boy Elon. So they're in bed together now. And it's like, huh, interesting. And for what it's worth, it kind of crashed the system and screwed up because there were so many people and Twitter couldn't handle it, which was kind of amazing actually that Twitter couldn't
yeah,
handle all that.
they couldn't handle they couldn't handle all that.
Yeah. So this Amazon app, the Amazon version of it is different because instead of just having a space in a room where people get in and talk, they've integrated it with Amazon Music, which is another thing they're pushing. So about a year later, after its debut, after the closed beta where they were just kind of testing it out and trying it, they get on, they get they start pushing out ads and they're pushing big stars such as Nicki Minaj, Joe Budden, and Nick Cannon. And I'm like, why these three in particular? Well, if you notice, they're musicians. The
Mhm.
big thing about Amazon Amp is it acts as a DJ platform. So as we're talking, I can just say, and now let's have a little bit of music. And I could play a song from the Amazon Music Library and it boop, boop, pops up this song in the middle of the discussion. And you're basically a radio DJ now.
Mhm.
So that's pretty darn cool. And it's something I started playing with. I really like it. I'm actually on there as at Mr. Benja. This is a no shame plug. Get at me. I'll be putting my show on there. It's gonna be fire.
So I did see, definitely gonna plug this more, but you said you were leaving live Instagram Live. Is that why? Because you're going there?
Yeah, so I'm leaving Instagram live, not necessarily for AMP, but I want to try out these other platforms and see how it plays out, how it feels. Instagram Live has some limitations and the way that they mess with the algorithm and it's just it's cool, but I do want to try other things. And this Amazon AMP thing, for some reason, they've been promoting it a lot lately. Like Nick Cannon is running Instagram ads, and Joe Budden. I see people talking about his Twitter space. I mean, not his Twitter space, his AMP rooms on Twitter. And I'm thinking, where's this going? What's happening here? And I go over there and it's got a lively little community and they're really starting to try to build it up for some reason. I'm not sure what their game plan is now, but they're pushing it and it's a fun little app so far. They're making a lot of updates weekly.
Mm.
So
They're shipping more often. That was a challenge. Someone said with what's that one that popped off for a second? Be Real. People loved
mm,
it. It was great, but then they couldn't ship new stuff. I mean, they had the moment, and I think they missed their moment. Because
mm,
people were doing it. And if you don't know, Be Real was an app that allowed you to do what every day for like a minute. They would just tell you whatever you're doing. No filter, just take a picture and write
yeah,
it. And the Gen Zers loved it. But for some reason, I read somewhere that they could not update the app enough and do new innovative things, right? Snapchat, not for all Snapchat's faults, right? They still continuously, try to innovate and do things. Be Real just couldn't do it. So, okay, Mr. Benji, shout out to Amp. I may go try it out too, man. I mean, look, that's how you blow up, man, because you
yeah,
find a niche. I mean, you never know. You might find that the new app
yeah,
that blows up, and I trust your judgment when it comes to social media product, type things, because I
yeah,
think sometimes so many of them out there, you just don't know what to
right.
jump in on. But since you play with it and you like, you're creative and you understand what people vibe to, I think that might be a good thing to go check out too for my brand, just to see what
Right.
happens.
So a long time ago, do you remember lastplayer.fm? I think that was the name of it.
Ooh, no.
So there was this app that you could play music and could actually DJ and get people together. And I thought it was really fascinating because it reminded me it's one of these things that transfers something you do in your real life to online very well.
Mhm.
So basically, you know how you'd sit around and play music and like, oh dog, listen to this song, listen to this song. Everybody gets hype. And then you're like, all right, let me play this song next. And you're sharing music with each other. That's what ends up happening here, where you're sharing music, you're talking to each other. And, just like Clubhouse and Twitter Spaces, people can call in. So you're like, you run it like a radio show if you want. You can have people call in, say, all right, you suggested this song, call in and tell me the first time you heard it. So people are like, yeah, man, I heard this song back in such and such. And people are like, well, music seems like a limited application, but you got to remember that's how TikTok started. People were sharing music and dances basically. In fact, the TikTok logo is a musical note and people seem to forget that.
Yeah. Well, and also it was originally called Musically, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, no point.
So yeah,
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Draymond Green show, rotation radio, hip hop and R&B personalities, Gabe P, and Nyla Simone, excuse me, go off on music. So yeah, hip hop pegs, hoops on amp. So they got a lot of hoop stuff. So yeah, man. Yeah, but I agree. They probably just paid a lot of these bigger guys to kind of jump on here and see what they can do here. So it's live, right? And then they record it and you can have.
yeah, you can do a limited playback. So after your show is finished, you can go play it back later if you had a fly set or whatever. So it seems fun that way.
Mhm. Okay, we'll see, man. Yeah. Okay, Mr. Benja. Do you want to also say that you got a shout out by old 20 baby having Nick
Nick
Cannon?
Cannon. Yeah, man. Like most social media platforms, I also want to say this, like most social media platforms, the comment section is garbage. So if you're actually awake and can provide one or two or three good comments in a row, you will definitely get noticed by whatever star is running that thing. So people are putting in booty comments, and I put in a couple of good ones. And Nick Cannon just stopped the show and was like, "Hey, shout out to Mr. Benja who said, this seems crazy that we're talking about mushrooms and spirituality, be in church and on the shrooms and seeing God float up from the altar." And yeah, he just gave me a shout out, and I was like, "Boom, there it goes." I got like an instant 20 followers from that. So I don't know what it's at right now, but I just started, so
Mm,
fun. It's fun.
interesting. Okay. All right,
Yeah,
Mr. Benja, where you're at. All right, I'll check you out, man. So, hey, everyone, didn't mean this to be a big ad thing, but, we
I did.
always check in. Okay,
Follow
Gary
follow
V.
me.
Okay, Gary V. I was like, I don't know too much about this topic, Mr. Benja. No, we're going to do it. I love it. That's how you do it, guys.
As I said, it's fun. We're checking out. Even if it doesn't last, it's definitely one of those things you want to be like, that was interesting. I should have taken note of that when it was happening.
Yeah, you never know. If it doesn't live, it may become something else. Just like all those folks from was that one thing that died off of Twitter that they all became TikTok stars. What was that?
Vine.
Vine. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Vine had that same thing going on, but legal battles and weirdness caused that to die.
yeah. So, Mr. Benja, we're rounding the top five. Where we at next?
That's right. Here we go with story number 5. Why are people talking about an AI doomsday? Is this a thing? Is it even going to happen? I think we might have some different opinions here. So I wanted to get into this one, and thank you for providing this link for me because this is kind of funny. What you got for me?
Yeah, Mr. Benja. So AI, man, everyone is out here in these streets talking about AI or generalized intelligence. AI basically gonna take over the world. Basically, they're just gonna get super intelligent. It's gonna realize it doesn't need people anymore and kill us all in so many terms. And Beyonce just actually came up from Elon Musk used to say this like back in the day, right? He was like, "What that was his big thing about like we're going to Mars because we can't sustain a extinction event here on the Earth, so we need to be a multiplanetary species." And so that was kind of where I kind of first heard it. And now it's kind of bubbling up again because now we see ChatGPT, we see Bard. We just demonstrate that we use Bard in our day to day life, even now. I was listening to one of the guys I follow at Elon. He's not Elon, he's a professor at Wharton. He does a lot of good research or shows you papers on AI and what does that mean. And he talked about he's got exclusive rights to looking at Google Sheets and Google emails and all that. And he's saying integrate with AI, that stuff is extremely powerful. He said our relationship to writing will fundamentally change once this get released because now it's going to be almost like you'll be able to kind of give it a prompt to write everything for you. And you'll go in and just fill in the colors, almost like paint by the colors now when it comes to
Yeah.
writing. And that might change like how we perceive what writing the task. We may
Oh
get
yeah.
a lot more written stuff because everybody's going to be like, oh, this is so much easier than actually have to put a framework and all this other stuff because the framework is done for you. So
Right.
anyway, I say all that to say is that, I think the AI apocalypse could be considered a marketing ploy, as the business side of the show versus business.
Hmm.
Because when you look at the YouGov.com, they did a poll.
Which is
Yeah.
not government sponsored.
I know, not government sponsored at all. I thought it was, but just YouGov. They did a informal poll and they asked, how concerned, if at all, are you about the possibility that AI will cause the end of the human race on Earth? According to the poll, 19% of US adults say they are very concerned, and 27 say they are somewhat concerned. What's that? That's like what? 46%, almost 50% of folks in this informal poll. Now, I don't know. I think it was about 1,000 people they did in this poll.
Mhm.
No, 20,000 US adults. Don't know the confidence interval or any statistic around like how relevant, how sound this poll is, but that's still alarmingly huge for me. So that tells me it's a hype machine, man. I think there's something else going on here.
I hate polls. And the reason why is because, yes, they're scientifically sound, but the scientifically sound version of these polls is usually not what's presented. You start digging in deep and seeing how people construct the polls, the questions they said before, the situation of the survey, the situation surrounding like this question. Like if I surveyed 1,000 random people, it's like, okay, but let's say I surveyed 1,000 random people right after this cataclysmic event or news story popped off, the numbers are going to be skewed just based on the current media discussion. And I've had to go in and debunk a couple polls myself, like when Scott Adams was quoting a poll that was saying, stay away from black people. You remember that?
Mhm.
Yeah, I had to go debunk a poll. So now I'm looking at this poll with the side eye already, and it's bizarre. So I don't put full faith in it, but I will say I got to put my tinfoil gamer hat on and say there's a lot of foolishness going on.
Yeah, I think it's not something I'm kind of, too concerned about.
Now, I'm worried about misinformation,
Well,
manipulation of the polls, self self-driving cars just going
well,
crazy, killing people.
so wait a minute, hold on. So you conflating that with, yes, those are actually concerns because yes, AI can imitate voices and call your grandmother and get her social security number. So those are real concerns. But like some of the smaller concerns, yes. I mean, the bigger concern of it becoming super intelligent and think it's an extension level event. I don't think that's the case. It's-
You'll be the first to go. All right, man. I am good. We can argue this one for hours, but yes, that's my takeaway. How you feeling?
Yeah, same here, man. So, guys, look, hope you enjoyed the show. Please like, subscribe, and comment at Show versus Business on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Listen to us at Spotify, iTunes, wherever you listen to podcasts. Please visit us at our website at Show versus Business. All right, Mr. Benja, take care.
Peace.